Hello, my name is Nerdy, and this is the Supernatural Book Tag. Hello, and welcome to my BookTube channel. So this is a new channel I just started, Nerdy Reader, and I thought I'd start off with a book tag of my own creation based on one of my favorite shows of all time, Supernatural. So I've seen a few Supernatural book tags on BookTube before, but those were mainly focused on the objects in the show or on the characters. I haven't seen one based on the episodes. I don't know if one already exists, I'm sorry if it does, but I couldn't find one. So like I said, this one is based on the episodes of Supernatural, so I picked 1 to 2 episodes from each season of Supernatural and used those to create tag questions. So my questions don't spoil anything from Supernatural. They might just imply that something happens in the episode. Like it'll say, this episode was sad, or this episode was funny, but had a little bit of a twist to it, or something like that, but it doesn't outright spoil anything. So far in Supernatural, there are 13 seasons. My tag includes 15 questions based off of those 13 seasons. There are a couple of seasons that I skipped just because I couldn't find an episode that quite fit the tag. Let me know if you enjoy this tag. I'd be happy to do it again with more episodes. There are very many to choose from. Number 1, Pilot, a book that had you hooked from the very beginning. For this one, I chose Simon vs. the Homo Sapiens Agenda by Becky Albertalli. I chose this book because, like I said, it had me hooked from the very beginning. I found it to be very enjoyable, and I have reread it twice so far. I plan to reread it a lot. This is one of the few books that I've actually sat down and read all the way through in one sitting, which is something I don't usually do, even with really, really good books. But I do it every time with one of Becky Albertalli's books. Number 2, Everybody Loves a Clown, a book that kept you up all night. Now this particular episode kept me up all night because the clowns are very scary, so I was kept up all night by that for a few days. It's very creepy. You can take this however you want. It could be that you were kept up all night because you were scared. It could be you were just kept up all night because it was such a good book. For this one, I'm going to go with One of Us is Lying by Karen M. McManus. So this is actually the book that I read when I was being kept up all night by Everybody Loves the Clown last summer. And it was just really good, and I wanted to keep reading to see what happened. It was really, really good. I really enjoyed it. Number 3, All Hell Breaks Loose Part 1, a book that broke your heart. For this one, I have got to go with Clockwork Princess by Cassandra Clare. This book is so good, but it definitely has some sad parts to it. If you ever pick up the Mortal Instruments series and are not really into it, try reading this trilogy. It's really good. It'll get you reinterested in the world. Clockwork Princess is my favorite book in the series. I think that with this trilogy, each book is better than the last. This book is just so good. I think it's one of the best conclusions I've ever read to a series or trilogy, and I highly recommend it. Mystery Spot, a book that felt just a little repetitive. For this one, I went with Before I Fall by Lauren Oliver. I couldn't really think of any book that I had read recently that had a repetitive feel in a negative way, so I just went with the kind of funny answer and went with one that's kind of like Mystery Spot. Number 5, Lazurus Rising, a character that started off as someone you disliked but turned into one of your favorite characters. And yes, I'm talking about Castiel. For this one, I'm going with Lila Bard from A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. I thought she was so annoying all through this book, but as the trilogy went on, she grew on me, and I really like her character now, and I think if I went back and reread this, I might have a better appreciation for her. But I know that at first she was getting on my nerves. Number 6, Swan Song, an ending that felt unfinished. The reason I chose Swan Song for this one is because the end of season 5 was originally intended to be the end of the series, but it was doing so well that they decided to extend it and keep the story going. So they included a cliffhanger, as per usual, on Supernatural. For this one, I picked up kind of the obvious answer, which was Requiem by Lauren Oliver. This is the finale to the trilogy, and it just felt like the story hadn't quite been wrapped up. There were a lot of open ends to it and things that I guess the author decided just to leave up to you to decide, which I don't know about you guys, but I really hate when authors are like, you decide the ending, or you decide what happens next, or use your imagination. Like, I want to be told what happens so I know that's what happened. I want my imagination and thoughts to be canon. It's just nicer that way. Another book I thought about choosing for this one was Ignite Me by Tahereh Mafi, but the reason I didn't is because she actually extended it and is starting a new trilogy taking place in that world that's continuing the story. So that one no longer works. Number 7, The French Mistake, a funny book with a dark twist. For this one, I went with House of Hades by Rick Riordan. All of Rick Riordan's middle grade books are usually pretty funny. They have always like a comedic aspect to it, even if there are some darker things going on, which is definitely what's going on in this book. This is the 4th book in the Heroes of Olympus series, so I can't tell you exactly what's going on without spoiling. There's a lot of darker stuff going on here, and the characters struggle a lot, but I think there are still elements of comedy throughout the book as well. Number 8, The Man Who Knew Too Much, a character who made a huge mistake. For this one, I went with A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas, and I said that Tamlin was the one who made a big mistake that kind of impacted him a lot. If you've read this book, you can probably guess what I'm talking about. It was interesting to see the way things kind of turned around in this book and went in a different direction, and I really enjoyed it. This is also a really good trilogy. This is the 2nd book in the A Court of Thorns and Roses trilogy. Number 9, Reading is Fundamental, a dramatic character change. For this one, I went with Scythe by Neil Shusterman. I think that Rowan from the beginning of the book and Rowan to the end of the book are 2 pretty different characters. I think he changed a lot, especially with some of the events that happened in here. And I'm really excited to see the rest of this trilogy. I actually do own book 2, but I haven't read it yet because I'm terrified of a cliffhanger. Number 10, Sacrifice, a scene that really sticks out. For this one, I went with The Final Empire by Brandon Sanderson, and I can't say outright what the scene is because it is a big spoiler, but it happens around page 570 and a little after that in this particular edition. It's just a moment that I found to be really moving. Number 11, Do You Believe in Miracles? A character that is really infuriating. Here I'm talking about Metatron. Really, I could have chosen any episode that he's in, but this is the one I found to be most infuriating. For this one, I tried to go with a book that not a lot of people have really talked about or said that this particular character is annoying or infuriating, and for that I went with Replica by Lauren Oliver, and I said that Lyra was really irritating to me. I did not like her character at all. It's still a really good book, and her story arc and everything about that is really good. I just didn't like her character very much. Number 12, Baby, a new perspective on a story. For this one, I went with Illuminae by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. This whole trilogy is told from documents, video recordings, and audio recordings, and different things found, and it's all compiled into a file. They're compiled into these files so that the characters can prove that this particular company had a part in an attack. Number 13, Don't Call Me Shirley, a previously unseen character that is revealed. For this one, I went with Legendary by Stephanie Garber. It is in the 2nd book to the Carvel trilogy that you find out the identity of Legend, who is the master behind all of the mystery. Number 14, Scooby Natural, an adult twist on a childhood classic. For this one, I went with Cruel Beauty by Rosamund Hodge. So this is a Beauty and the Beast retelling, but the twist is our main character has been training her entire life to kill this man, who she is supposed to marry. And finally, number 15, Let the Good Times Roll, a cliffhanger that left you desperate for the sequel. So I actually mentioned this book earlier in the video, and that is Restore Me by Tahereh Mafi. So this is kind of the 4th book in the Shatter Me series. The first 3 books have a completed story arc, and then this one takes place a little bit after that one ended to continue the story and kind of give you more to it. Needless to say, there was an unnecessary cliffhanger at the end of this book, and unfortunately for me, I read it right when it came out, meaning I still have to wait another year for the next book. I knew it would be a mistake to read it, but I couldn't help myself. Okay, so that was the Supernatural book tag. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what your favorite question was for this and what your answer would be to it down in the comments below. My social media links will be in the description down below. Thank you for watching.